I'm looking for my mother, formerly Joelle Needham, the daughter of Bobo Needham, originally from the town of Gunderson in Beaufort County, South Carolina. Please let me know if you are that lady. We lived in New York, in Harlem, I think, until I was about 7. Then I was sent to my grandfather Bobo Needham and his stepmother Selma Needham in South Carolina, who also raised him. Now I'm 30 years old. I'm doing well. I am a contractor now, and just received my first contract with the city of Philadelphia. I said that I wished I could tell you, and my girlfriend suggested that I write this, and she would try to find an address for me to send it to. I live with my girlfriend and her son. He is about the age I was when I was separated from my mother. That's another reason I'm writing. Watching him grow has made me think about you. I hope that you will agree to meet. If you are not the right person, please let me know. This could just be one meeting if you like. It doesn't have to be more. Here's my information for home or work. Email is best, or cell. Sincerely, Alonzo Rayne. That was Lonnie in the truck behind Joelle. She knew it. Joelle remembered her son's deep-set, coffee-black-brown eyes, like her grandfather's. A big gap between his front teeth came from her grandfather, too. When Joelle had allowed herself to think of Lonnie as a man, she fitted his 7-year-old face into the image in her head of her grandfather King's old sepia-tone photo. Nana Selma had had a mantel built, sans fireplace, just to make a proper display, like an altar, for that photograph. It had been taken by a black photographer in Colombia, whom Selma referred to as famous. Later, when Joelle learned about African ancestor worship, she thought of that photo. Surely the hulking farmer in his white shirt and stiff collar had seemed to live with them. Selma spoke to him as she walked by. She asked questions of him in passing and seemed to receive answers. King had been a big, pale man burned bronze by the sun. His head and neck and shoulders filled the frame. The wide mouth and jaw were set, as if against the coming misfortune. His deep-set eyes looked straight and unsmilingly from under dark, arched brows into the small room that his father had built and he had improved. Joelle had been afraid of those eyes and their judgment. Now she was seemingly afraid of her son's. His letter had been perfectly cordial, but surely he had to remember what she had done, just as she remembered and could never forget, starting with the train. Joelle had put him on that southbound train and convinced herself that he'd be riding into a new, wholesome boyhood. He's much better off. Recalling how far she'd sunk back then, she'd repeated it to herself through the years. Much better off. And until this moment, she'd mostly been able to keep herself from thinking about how very deeply he might hate her. She stopped the car and watched him in the mirror. It looked as if he were even taller than her father, big and hulking like him, with a walk that rolled his shoulders side to side. On his head, he wore a skull cap, stretched over thick dreadlocks that reminded her of how unruly his hair had been when he was a boy. He unloaded from the back of the truck 2 boxes, walked them to the black and white house, and rang the bell. A young woman peeked her head out into the drizzle. Slim, brown, animated, she waved her hands even as he shook his head no. She had big hair, too, twists or some similar style that poked out in all directions. She stepped onto the stoop and clearly strained to pick up one box and take it inside. There were open boxes filled with objects Joelle could not identify, except to see that the heavy contents seemed to slide when the young woman tried to pick up the top one. He called to her. Joelle saw his raised hand make a dismissing movement, which the young woman ignored. Instead, she called into the house. A boy of about 7 erupted from the doorway, danced a little moonwalk on the top step, then held the door for her, hands and legs moving in place. With that, she bent deep and hoisted and then carried first one box, then the other. Once the woman finished, the boy banged the door closed and ran shouting into the quiet street. Lonnie, Joelle called him that in her mind, pointed to the truck bed